people would rather you be miserable with someone of your own race than you be in love with someone of a different race. It is so utterly ridiculous. I read the comments.
Yeah.
People need to get a life. Let that man be happy. I get it. But if that's not what brings him joy, if that's not what brings him happiness, who are you to tell him who he should be with because it's not of his race?
I get it, guys. It's another one of these interracial dating videos starring you, the black man. But this conversation is so compelling, it just keeps going on and on. But I want you to consider this because I'm just like you. I'm an African American. I grew up in the inner city, went to the black church, had black friends. Some of you, your parents may have had more money than me, may have had less money than me, but I think we all share the same experience. And if you were somewhat of a high achiever, you knew that if you came home with a woman that wasn't black like your mom, it was a disgrace to her. It was a slap in her face. It kind of indicated that she did something wrong. So many of us, we didn't want to let our mother down, right? So we wanted to go out and get that beautiful black queen, bring her back to the church, marry her, have black kids, because we wanted to be accepted by our community. We didn't want to be one of those brothers that was a sellout. Plus, we love black women, right? But what happens to those black men who look at the black community as a place of trauma, as a place of rejection, as a place of, some place that people laughed at you? And even worse, black dating. What if you were the guy that, chicks didn't like and you weren't cool and maybe you didn't sell drugs, you didn't have the nice slang, you didn't have the nice Jordans, and, you got out in the real world and what you're doing now would be considered corny. Like, has that changed your perspective in dating? It may have. And what Shannon Sharpe said might actually be true for some of you guys listening. Now listen, Shannon Sharpe is just like us. He grew up in Georgia. He grew up with black parents. He even has a black daughter. But as he started to get out in the real world, the opportunities became greater and greater to deal with other groups of women. And that's the case with Bronny James. I mean, he's the son of LeBron James, and, we see what he's doing and his prom pictures, and people are very upset with that. But you heard what Shannon Sharpe said. What did he say? People would much rather you be suffering in your own race than be happy with somebody else. Well, what does he mean by people? Because there's only really one race of people we could be talking about, because white people, they tend to, stay together longer. Hispanics, Asians. There's really only one group of people that he could be referring to that want you to suffer. That is the black race. That's African Americans in particular. So what is Shannon Sharpe revealing for some of the black men out there? And he didn't want to phrase it in that way so he couldn't be canceled. But Shannon Sharpe is admitting to something that we already kind of know. That some black relationships, if not most, people are suffering, right? There's not a lot of great things going on. And a lot of black men feel that they need to keep it, real. They need to keep it black. They need to go into the black love thing, or for fear of being ostracized, by the mother, by the community, by being called a sellout, instead of figuring out how to be happy. Now, I want to talk about this because Shannon Sharpe, if he was let's say he was a woman, okay, and it was a black woman taking a picture with a white man, and Shannon Sharpe was asked about that, then the response would have been okay, because black women, it is completely okay for you to go out and date white men. You can still have your blackness and do that. We know that because Maya Angelou still keeps her blackness. It's very common. But what about you? You as a black man, if you don't want to deal with, certain elements of sisters in the black community, or if you're not feeling like, these ladies are marriage material, if you're feeling like there's a little bit more of entitlement going on, and you want to spread your rings and you want to go out and date somebody else, well, what is the outcomes of that? Well, people are going to talk about you. People are going to call you a sellout, especially if you're successful. And well, the question is, should you do it? And Bronny James at 17 is already doing it. But see, it's going to even get worse because there's young guys 14 and 15 who are not even going to be participating in the gender war that you may see going online between black men and black women. Shannon Sharpe is admitting that a lot of black men may be suffering in their current relationships with black women. Not only did he make that explanation, so did the late great Kevin Samuels. And that caused a lot of ruckus amongst a lot of people on the internet, that a lot of black men were suffering in relationships, possibly with black women. Now, could that be because these guys chose the wrong woman? Absolutely. Could it have been because those guys didn't work enough on themselves and settled for less? Absolutely. But could it be also now that black men are going to go out there and kind of figure it out for themselves and, let the best bidder win and, whatever they can do to get the best woman for themselves, they're going to do that? Absolutely. That's what you're going to see. What you're going to see is less black men focus on, developing the community and doing what's best for the black community, for the community to survive. And more black men are going to be looking at trying to gain their overall happiness. If that's with the woman in the black community, or it could be a woman from the Dominican Republic, or even the white woman. And I think this is the scary part. There's too many guys out there that agree with Shannon Sharpe. And even me, I'm a pro-black, like hardcore, hard body. But I mean, some of my friends in the Pan-African community, we see what's going on. And many of us are afraid. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what the outcome is going to be, because we see a lot of black men like Shannon Sharpe who feel like him, who they have ties to the black community, but they're not dedicated to the black community as far as, staying married or reproduction as much. They're looking at trying to find the best woman for the job. And in many cases, I'm afraid, right? I don't know if we're going to be able to keep the African American community going on for much longer. And the reason is because you're going to have so many black men dealing with other women of other races, because they're looking for the best person for the job. And no longer are you going to have black men, really saying, I'm for the black women, I'm for the black queens, I'm from the black community, everything is black, this is B1 first. You're not going to hear that from a lot of guys. You're going to hear it from some guys, but most guys are going to be looking at who is the best woman for me first. And see, when you get to that situation, that's when it gets scary. But I don't think that people understand how scary it is. It is really scary for our community. And I don't know what's going to change that. I mean, you have a lot of women out there who feel like, these guys don't need to be competed for. And so you kind of have these guys who feel like, well, I never fitted in the first place. I need to go over to another community and do something over here. And then when you get a lot of those guys feeling that way, that's the beginning of the end. And that's where we're at now. We're in the point where black men just don't care about what their families think. They don't care about what I think. They don't care about what the pro-blacks think. Only thing they care about is them being happy. They know that they die earlier than other people. They know that, their lifespan is not as long as other folks. So while they're here, they're just trying to be happy. They don't have time for the foolishness. And then there you have it. That's where black men are going to go from now on. And, I will have to say, I'm sort of sad, but I think the writing could possibly be on the wall. What do you think we can do to change that, guys? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe with the bell. Check out the first comment at the top. And as you know, the buffoonery remains at an all-time high. I'm out.